industry news, and straight up fun. I am your host, Carolyn Orphan. Today is, February 7th, 2024, and today we are celebrating Lunar New Year. And I'm so excited to be here today to celebrate this event that millions of people across the world celebrate on the first new moon of the calendar year. So this event is celebrated throughout the Asian communities across the globe. So we thought, what perfect opportunity to shed a little light here today on the show. Please let me know that you're here by saying hello in those public comments. We are just really excited to be here. Before we get started, though, just a few travel updates. As you guys know, I think you've been reading, you've been seeing it all over the place. New travel advisories for the Bahamas and Jamaica. Look, we can talk about that all day long, but the important thing is that you're talking to your clients, you're asking about their concerns, you're listening to them, and you're sending them some reliable sources of information. It needs to be your client's choice whether or not they feel comfortable to travel, and they also need to understand the financial impact if they do decide to cancel or change that trip. So, just be there as their advisor, and hopefully you can calm some nerves or make those quick changes, which is going to make you look like a rock star. So wave quarter, wave year, wave forever is going strong. I hope that you all are seeing the same uptick that I'm personally seeing. Lots of opportunity out there. And I'm looking and seeing a lot of the unusual selling strong. So it's a great entry for our first guest today. Hello, Gina. Hello, Sadie. Hi, Dee. It's so great to see you guys. So the unusual, the unique is such a great intro for our first guest. Here to share his thoughts on the unique and unusual Mekong River is Gary Murphy with AmaWaterways. Welcome back, Gary.
Carolyn, it's great to be back. I'm glad you said unique and unusual about the destination. I thought you were speaking about me.
Do you know, as I was saying it, I'm like, he's going to think I'm intruding. We were on the same wavelength. But it's wonderful to have you back to celebrate the Lunar New Year with us. And what a great topic, the Mekong, because as you read this and as you watch YouTube videos and look at pictures, it truly looks extraordinary, as does every river cruise in my book. But, the Mekong spans 6 countries. That's pretty extensive. And this is a destination that Ama is sailing. So can you tell us paint me a picture. What would this look like?
Well, first of all, it's my favorite cruise we do. All of Europe, the Nile, everything else. I really love the Mekong because it's so culturally different. I come from a European background. A lot of people like yourself from a European background. But when you go into this part of the world, culturally, the mannerisms, their welcoming mannerisms, the hospitality, the graciousness of the people is just impactful. They're always bowing to you. They're always, how can I help you? Even though you look at our history together, especially into Vietnam, they always say, oh, that was in the past, right? That was in the past. You're very, very welcome here. And the Mekong River, in difference to the rivers in Europe, is still very much the highway. It's still very much the way people travel or move commerce. When you're on the river ship, you'll see a dugout canoe going by you with a single stroke engine making that very pop, 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 driven by a 12-year-old kid, and he'll have 3 pigs tied up in it. I mean, it's those types of things. And the docking on the Mekong, it's still very rudimentary. Now, there are proper docks, but because it's a wild river, it's not a controlled river, there's no locks. The river will go up and down through rainy to dry season through 20, 25 feet. So at certain times of the year where the villages are floating and we can go right ashore. Other times the river's lower and we'll carve steps into the side of the embankment to get into the village, right? So there's just this adventurous side, but also you have all the creature comforts of our Western society by traveling on the Amadara. We have a full-size pool, a full spa, air conditioning, all those things. So you go ashore, you experience the elements, and you come back to your very comfortable river ship.
When you talk about the rivers going up and down, we know that in Europe, this can impact the ship from coming down the river, and then we end up with some land
Right.
moving about. Based on what you were saying, can that happen on the Mekong as well, or do you?
Well, we've been going there, I think, since, gosh, 2010, maybe 2008. And we've never had it happen. There's no low bridges. There's no waters. We never had a low water challenge. And when the river is high, I love it. It's really dramatic. It's flowing. It's moving around. But no, it's never a problem with navigation. Now, what I will say is when you're starting in Siem Reap, you're out in Tonle Sap Lake. Tonle Sap Lake is like a big saucer, right? And at the mouth of the Tonle Sap Lake to Tonle River, it's very shallow. So the river ships don't leave from Siem Reap. You coach down to Chai Bay and join the ship right on the other side of that saucer to edge. You join it on the Tonle River and then cruise down into the Mekong. But that transfer, again, is so exciting because you're going through villages and everything else. You're in a beautiful air-conditioned motor coach, and you do a couple stops along the way. And if you're really adventurous, you can eat things that you'd never think you'd ever put in your mouth your entire life. But it's a really magical experience.
Who's our client for this sort of adventure?
We get a lot of past clients that have done the Nile, clients that have done our river ships in Europe. But we also find that if you've done, clients that have done the Galapagos, clients that have done safaris, they're a little more adventurous. It's a younger clientele on the Mekong. The average age is in its low 50s. And it's just people that have a little more exploration in their blood and they want to try something new.
Very interesting. All right. So one of the things that we've seen a lot of, I feel like, is that need for connection travel, right? This is a trend. People want to feel a part of something or learn something. How does this particular river and experience really lean into that idea?
Well, when you're going into the villages themselves, you're not, first of all, seeing a lot of Westerners. Like when we pull up and you're going to a village, we may be the only group visiting that village. The village may not have electricity, but they'll have all these car batteries, and they all have cell phones, they all have scooters, and they're open markets. And because electricity is not proficient everywhere or popular, they go to the markets every day, right? To buy fresh produce, to buy fresh fish, to buy chicken and everything else. So when you're going into these markets, you're part of all the people buying. There's a hustle and bustle. You'll see containers with live fish in them, still alive, and them negotiating in the market. You'll see all these different spices being sold, and the clients, and all the different colors. And the clients really appreciate that side of just witnessing everything that's going on. We'll take them into silk factories, right? One of them is where they're hand spinning silk off of like bicycle wheels. And you can buy these beautiful scarves or rolls of silk. And then we'll bring you to another town where they're manufacturing it, right? And each time you're broken into small groups. You have different programs, they have choices of doing. And so you have a time through a translator with our guides, ask the questions of these people about the commerce, the growing of the worms, these types of things. The challenge I have is, like, I went down with my daughters and I could not literally get them out of the silk place because they're buying these beautiful silk outfits for nothing. I did a competition in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh. They have these marvelous markets, blocks and blocks of markets where they're selling everything. That I bet a friend, what we did was we gave ourselves $5 and you had to buy everything you're going to wear to dinner that night.
Very fun.
Shoes, pants, shirt. My friend won the bet because he also got a hat, right? But that's how far the dollar goes down there. And again, you feel safe, it's comfortable, and it's just so different. Now, we do go into villages. As AmaWaterways, we're sensitive to engagement with children.
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can see them in schools, but we're not bringing you into the schools where you're taking pictures of kids and everything else. But you'll meet the headmaster, or you'll meet the local artisans, and you'll see the ongoings. But then you also have someone like I named Phnom Penh. So here you have this big city. We go on the outskirts there if you want to with the killing fields. It's very, very emotional because, but you can travel all around there in different groups and experiencing different experiences. We go to places in Chai Bay, or is it Ten Chau? Everyone gets their own trishaw, which is a guy pedaling, and we break into groups of like 10, and everyone goes and sees different parts of the town, all by trishaw. So it's really, really interesting. There's lots to see. The food on the ship, we have Western style food, and then we have Vietnamese and Cambodian. At the beginning of the cruise, everyone's eating Western style food. At the end of the cruise, everyone is either eating Cambodian or Vietnamese.
It sounds like there's a lot of time and attention taken to not only showing the history and the culture and really immersing yourself in people, but also helping local economies.
Oh.
Is there a give back opportunity at all where people are bringing things over to donate? Is that part of the experience? Is that something that our clients can do?
They can do it in Cambodia, out in outside of Siem Reap, just close to Angkor Wat. We have put together. We've sponsored an orphanage, and we sponsor a couple schools. What we have is we have the teachers come on board the ship, or we meet them on shore, and they talk about what's going on.
Wow.
Any paper, pens, writing utensils, anything that's non-electrical is appreciated, right? And we can arrange that when we're going through there. You can drop it off the school, but again, we're trying to protect that interface between the children and the guests. And you'll say, oh, if you talk to the children, they'll say, oh, this is an orphanage. And they may talk about their parents. It's just that the parents don't have the resources to raise them. So they'll be there, and we feed them and educate them. And their parents they'll go visit their parents vice versa. And it's, it sounds awkward. It is, but it's all to a good result in the end. We actually have had graduates now from the school that are working with AMA on the ships.
Really? Well, it sounds like a different experience, but also one that's very meaningful. And I love the fact, I hate to say that it's a trend that we like to give back and do, bring a backpack full of supplies, but I think it's a good trend. It's a good experience for people. And, it's being thoughtful of communities that you're visiting. And I think that's always a good thing. To switch gears just a little bit, is there anything else that's super exciting that's going on with AMA that we should know about that you can tell us? Live on YouTube. Don't forget that.
Okay, so business is going extremely well. We actually have surpassed last year's total sales for 2023 for 2024. People are traveling. We are putting 2 river ships on the Magdalena River, and that's in the country of Colombia. There hasn't been a river ship on that river since 1962. So we're working closely with the government. The towns and villages are really excited to have us come. And that starts, I think, November 8th. We're putting another new ship on the Douro, and we have the Ama Lilia, I think we're calling it, the second ship on the Nile coming out this year too. So
the Magdalena, that's another one for that client that's done a lot. This is another one to present to them when they kind of feel like they've run out of things, which is crazy to think about, but there are people out there that.
Well, the ship was supposed to start operating next month, but we didn't get as far along as we thought with the navigational and the building process. But it's going to be really fun. Like when we first started operating the Mekong, we'd be tying up to a tree and bringing guests in. We may be having that first on the Magdalena River in Colombia, but if you're on that edge, you want to be the first. I mean, we go to certain mompox where they have a jazz festival, right, for all the locals. Now we get to be a part of it. The dance and the music. It's and the river is very, very long. Yeah, it's exciting. Rudy and Christine, my partners, they've done over 500 miles on the river with the government, setting up docking facilities and everything else. So yeah, it's a project. You see, and working in Colombia is so much different than working in Germany, or even different than working in Vietnam and Cambodia. But I mean that in a very good way. It's just the cultural exchange, trying to get our thought process and how we operate to them. We actually brought them over and put them on cruises in Europe, saying this is what we're aspiring to get to.
Well, and what an interesting, I think it'll be a really interesting and beneficial add to their country when it comes to tourism, because, Colombia has a rough reputation, and this is absolutely a way to soften it and
also,
get people who might
Carolyn,
not generally travel there.
Yeah, Carolyn, we would never bring anyone to a destination we didn't feel safe.
Right.
We would never put our crew, our teams in any danger. And I can assure you, where we're cruising, the locals are very excited about having us there.
I think everyone's excited when it comes to increasing tourism these days, no matter what country you go to. It's a benefit for everyone involved. So bringing a known, tried and true product to a new country is what a fantastic experience.
And everywhere we cruise, we work with the locals in supplying the ships. Now, in Vietnam, when you're looking at the fish in the markets or the poor little piggies where one's not too happy, that's not the case. We'll have the fish and everything shipped in or processed through right facility. So when you are ashore and you see how everything's going, we're not doing that there, but we are going. Now the vegetables and things like this, and there's a special, it's a special wash. It has a bleach wash. We wash everything in the vegetables and all that we do source locally, and then they're washed again because fresh vegetables are important, but a lot of the other things we actually have shipped in. In Colombia, we'll be doing the same thing.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited for you guys. It sounds like things are just getting better and better and bigger while still keeping that very family feel to it. So I can't thank you enough for being here today to celebrate.
But Carolyn, we have phenomenal internet on our ships. I would love to have you do your show from one of our ships.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. And you know what, you guys? I completely forgot. Sam, I can't believe you forget. Let me forget this. It's our 150th show today.
Congratulations.
I forgot that. How did I forget that after all?
Aren't you special? Gosh. And
you know what?
And I feel so privileged that you had me.
Well, you know what? We have loved our partnership with you guys. Our third year at this, we have been able to open this up really to whomever we feel like we want to have on. And I have always enjoyed our conversations about sales, about product, about how to get agents motivated and get people, looking at river. And so I'm just very happy that your schedule allowed for it. So thanks for being here.
Can I leave one little comment? When you're going to Siem Reap, you're going to Angkor Wat and the Khmer's history. The flooding of Tonle Sap Lake developed because they could grow 2 rice crops a year, and because of the nutrients coming in, and because of all the fish that grow off those nutrients, allowed that city to grow, the largest pre-industrial city in the world. If you think about Egypt, right, the flooding of the Nile, the same thing gave us that culture, that magnificent Egyptian culture. So there's a lot of similarities there. Angkor Wat is a mind-blowing experience to visit those temples. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Thank you. I have spent some time in Asia, and I do love it. It's so different from really so many other parts of the world that it's something I really feel like everyone should pick at least one place to go visit and experience, because I think culturally you have it's a strong appreciation for other parts of the world and the way people live and the foods that they eat, what they believe in. And it's really just amazing. So
and they're also
thank
happy.
you.
They're also happy.
They're very happy for
Happy
you to be there and
150th.
happy to meet you. Yes, absolutely.
Happy 150th and
Thank
happy
you.
lunar, whatever we call it.
Lunar New Year. Yeah,
Lunar
Lunar
New
New
Year.
Year.
All right,
All right.
take care.
So scary.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. You guys, how did I forget that it's our 150th episode? There was a big graphic and everything. I don't know. I guess I got so excited about Lunar New Year and celebrating it with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. She makes me laugh almost daily because we get to work so closely together. Please welcome Annie Yu to KHM Today. Hi.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So it's so fun because you got to spend 2 weeks in Japan visiting family over the holidays, and you had some adventures, to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. I always do.
To say the least. But you also learned a lot and got to explore a lot. So share with us just a few tidbits, and then we've got a really fun video to roll for everyone.
Yeah, so this is the third time I visited Japan, but the first time I was visiting, kind of trying to think like a travel agent, like what would I look for if I was an agent trying to sell Japan? Because I've seen a lot of interest lately, especially online, which is great. Because right now the US dollar is really strong against the yen. And Japan does, especially Tokyo, does have a reputation for being, kind of pricey, but honestly, it's really affordable if you just know where to look. And trust me, it's not hard to find good eats and good drinks. But getting there, there's two main airports. There's Narita and Haneda, and both are very accessible by train or taxi. Narita is a little bit closer, but I think it really depends on which one you fly into. And one of the things I did not know, actually, is that if you have cruise clients, Yokohama is a major cruise port. Yokohama is not in Tokyo. Make sure you let your clients know. Yokohama is about a 45-minute, 1-hour train ride north of Tokyo, I believe, or south of Tokyo. I'm probably wrong on the geography on that, but it's actually Japan's second largest city, but it's super cool. There's an amazing Chinatown there, and I ate my weight in dumplings, as I always do. But Yokohama is really cool. If you have a client that maybe can't spend a full day in Tokyo, Yokohama is really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, this time around, I think I've spent enough time on the transit. It's definitely overwhelming at first, but the trains, I mean, you can really set your clock to them. Like, they are punctual to the T. I think I read statistically that the average delay time is 7 seconds.
That's not really a delay, right?
No.
Now, and signage is really good there. You're seeing signage in both Japanese and English, correct?
Yeah, especially since the 2020 Olympics were there. So a lot of even the cities that were the parts of the cities that were a little outside of like the more touristy areas started putting English on all of their signs. And even before, the first time I went was in 2018, I want to say. There's never been an issue with the language barrier. Because like I said, most people there, they'll know enough English to help you if they see that you need help. That's another thing. They will always be going out of their way to help you. And yeah, it's just never an issue. It's great. You'll find once in a while like a little mom and pop shop that won't have English menus, but it says you'll see it on the front like no English menu available. So they're very upfront with that.
Let me ask you something, because this is such a passion for my child. Pod hotels. Japan is known for these, and we've tried them in Thailand, and it was not what I considered a pod hotel that I'd seen on TV. And he's still adamant that we're going to go and stay in the authentic one, which really is in Japan. And quite frankly, I believe they're in the airport. So did you see any of these? Like, were they readily accessible?
Yeah. Well, accessibility is one thing. They're definitely not all that accessible if you can't, climb up and down ladders, because they're really stacked on top of each other. Like when they say pod, they mean pod.
Yeah, like I think coffin. You're sliding me in and out, or
Yeah,
that's what I think
like
of.
that. I've never personally stayed in one, but you do see them, and they're a really budget-friendly option for a lot of travelers, especially if you're traveling by yourself or maybe with one or two other people, and all you're carrying is like a backpack. But for me, I've got my backpack, my luggage, all my camera gear, so it's not really a pragmatic stay
Yeah,
for me.
I feel like I'm gonna have to find luggage storage and then go to
Yeah,
the pod. Like,
yeah,
this
exactly.
is in my mind because I don't backpack anymore. I'm too old for that.
Yeah, trust me, my back after that trip. Phew. But no, you do see them, and they're really, really budget friendly. So that's definitely an option if you're kind of like a solo traveler.
Great. All right. Well, I want to introduce the video, or why don't you introduce the
Okay.
video because I think it's so cute. We're celebrating Lunar New Year, and
Yes.
you interviewed your family.
Yeah. So backstory, real quick. My sister and her kids have lived in Tokyo for about 4 or 5 years. Um, so when I was over there visiting over the holiday, I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to film a KHM at home segment with me?" And just they were pretty excited about it. Especially my youngest niece, she loves being in front of the camera. So we do talk about Lunar New Year, and then towards the end, we do talk about some more tips. But I'll be back on after the video to kind of wrap up and kind of mention a few other things, maybe some neighborhoods. So hopefully,
Okay.
we're not too awkward in this video.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Take it away, Sam. Let's see what Annie and the family had to say about Lunar New Year.
Hey guys, this is Annie from the marketing team. Thanks for joining us. I'm very excited to host my first segment of KHM at home. I'm here in beautiful Japan with my sister Kelly and her two daughters, Ava and Sophie. And we're going to talk a little bit about Lunar New Year. But since this is probably the first time you've ever met them, I know Carolyn has a tradition of doing an icebreaker, kind of like a round of lightning questions. So we're going to do that. Guys ready? Okay. Ava,
Yes.
and you just pass the mic back and forth. Ava, talking or texting?
Talking.
Okay. Sophie, what's your favorite city in the U.S. to live in?
New York.
Oh. Okay. Kelly, invisibility or super strength?
Why is this one so hard? Super strength, I guess.
Really?
Why?
All right.
All right, fine. Invisibility. No, neither. None of them are that interesting. Neither of them.
Okay. Well, how about neither? Okay. What about Kelly? If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Oh, 1920s in Shanghai.
Ooh, yeah. Ava, what's the best age?
For what?
Just to be.
Like 5 or something.
5? Okay.
Young age. A
Uh,
young age.
Sophie, again, would you rather give presents or get presents?
It depends on who the person is, but maybe you receive.
Like, what do you do when you get a present you really don't like?
I don't use it.
Do you regift?
No. I just don't use it.
Kelly, what's your favorite carnival food?
Oh my gosh, everything. Back home we have what's called elephant ears. Is that what it's called? It's like the dough with the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Probably that.
That is a classic staple.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you guys were pretty tame there. You were scared. So anyway, I am lucky enough to be visiting Tokyo and Japan for the 3rd time. This is my first time back in a few years. And, they live here. They've been here for, how long have you guys lived here?
4 years.
Couple years, 4 years. So it's awesome because, they're pretty much locals and get to show me around. But of course, every time I see them, I always ask them, what do you miss about home? And Lunar New Year comes up a little bit because growing up for me and Kelly, it was a huge celebration for us. Back then, it was mostly Chinese New Year, but these days it's called Lunar New Year to be a little bit more encompassing because people outside of the Chinese culture still celebrate. So we are in Japan. Do you guys want to tell me a little bit about how Japanese people celebrate Lunar New Year?
Yeah.
Eva?
I don't know. Maybe just they're very casual about a lot of holidays that Americans go big on, like Christmas and stuff. So
Yeah, but we're talking about Lunar New Year, though.
I don't know. Probably like a casual dinner with friends and family, maybe.
Yeah, and what's like a traditional dish that you eat?
Scallion pancakes.
Scallion pancakes. So, isn't that one of your specialties?
Well, on Lunar New Year we eat
Dumplings.
Dumplings?
Scallion pancakes.
But you make scallion pancakes. I've had them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice too.
How do you make them?
By rolling
They're
dough.
And it's just scallions?
Just scallions.
Okay. Is it like vegan and vegetarian friendly if anyone's interested in trying?
Yeah, it's just flour and green onions, so very vegan friendly.
That's awesome. What's your guys' favorite part about celebrating Lunar New Year?
Who are you asking?
You.
Oh. I mean, when we get the chance, hanging out with family, there's usually a bunch of people making food,
Love it.
so that's fun.
What about you, Ava?
So if you say right on this.
I feel like I know what you're gonna say.
Well, one of the parts of celebrating is, of course, like family and friends, dinner, a big
That's
dinner,
No, that's a lie. You
And,
told me money, getting money,
It's better.
the red envelopes,
which contains what?
money.
All right. So what about in Japan? Is there anything they do that's like kind of specific to Japanese culture as far as celebrating Lunar New Year?
Well, there's a lot of Chinese people living in Japan, and close by Tokyo, about 45 minutes away by train is Yokohama. As I believe the Chinatown of Yokohama is the biggest Chinatown in the world. And there's like dragon dance, there's like festivals, tons of like events and performances. So a lot of people go there for that. And of
Sounds
course
fun.
to eat all the street food.
Lots and lots of food, grilled
Lots of
meats
food.
and candies and stuff like that,
Mhm.
which I'm sure you love, Ava. What about this year? You guys doing anything for Lunar New Year? Anything special?
I haven't thought that far yet, but anything you guys want to do? It's been a while since we've made homemade dumplings. Maybe
Yeah, I
that.
guess gyoza would be nice.
Yeah, that's
Gyoza.
something we did before. Is make homemade dumplings. Yeah.
And that's pretty much across a lot of Asian cultures, is just eating some sort of pot stick or dumpling. But you know, us, we don't need an excuse to eat pot stickers ever. I'm ready 24/7 for that.
Yeah, any day. It does not even be a holiday.
But I've been here for a while now, visiting, and I gotta say, it's magical every time. There's just never an end to all the amazing, incredible experiences Tokyo has to offer. And you guys been here a few years, and even now, you still tell me how much you love living here. But I always wonder, you know, like, what is something you guys wish you knew before moving here about Japanese customs? Ava?
I'm gonna change my answer a bit to
Okay. It's not a test. You're allowed to change your answer.
I wish that when I first came here, I started learning Japanese quickly, and I only learned the formal language. So at my age, there's a lot of people in my class or something who speaks like a very casual sort of way of speaking, like slang and stuff. So I wish I learned that way of Japanese first.
So not so formal and proper.
Yeah.
I don't know. You speak it pretty well now.
Like textbook Japanese is not usually what you use in real life. Is that what you're trying to say?
I guess.
Huh. I don't know. I think you speak it pretty well. And Sophie, I feel like you picked up on it pretty quick too. Yeah. So Kelly, I feel like a lot of people who want to visit Japan, one of the first things they ask is, well, how hard is it to get around, you know, like with the language barrier? And I can safely say none of us are native Japanese speakers, but I've never had a problem navigating the city, even outside of Tokyo. I've been to Kyoto and Osaka, and never had once an issue getting around. And people here are so friendly; they will go out of their way to help you. But it does, of course, to learn a couple of local phrases, especially "thank you." That's a big thing here. So, what advice would you guys have for someone then, you know, think about visiting Tokyo or Japan in general?
I would say plan plenty. Like, make sure you have plenty of time to get to do everything. So Tokyo is less of a city, more than like a regional.
Yeah, it's like a sprawling metropolis.
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's like Tokyo contains many mini cities, and so really give yourself a lot of time to explore. But if you're going around Japan as well, really you need like 2 weeks, I would say at least.
Yeah,
just
this is
to
my
hit up,
third
like-
visit, and I still feel like I haven't done it all. So
Yeah, exactly. There's so much to do. But yeah, don't worry. It's very efficient. It's safe. It's clean. So there's
so clean.
yeah. Do not
Like
worry
city of
about
what,
comfort
35
here.
million people. You
Yeah.
rarely see a piece of trash on the street. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I feel like Japan, Tokyo is like a different planet than anything a traveler's ever experienced.
Yeah.
It's very unlike like any other world cities.
Yeah,
So,
especially at
yeah.
night.
That's correct.
So-
What about you girls? Any advice for visitors?
Figure out the train stations before you visit, because I think it can be overwhelming when you're like a tourist and you have to use the trains to like get around the city. Yeah, so try not to get on the wrong train.
But you know, even if you do, the system here is so efficient and on time. Like everything you've heard about Japanese transit is true. Like you could really set your clock to the arrival and departure times. It's insane. And as someone who's big on punctuality, I love that. I know Kelly's probably rolling her eyes because she's the least punctual person I know. Yeah, that was a subtle dig at you.
I have children and they slow me down.
They show you how to get here.
Yeah.
Like they know the city better than you.
Anyways, Ava, what are your tips for visitors?
Yeah, any tips?
Maybe probably the transportation too. Like there's cabs.
That's right. She's
and
just agreeing with you.
taxis everywhere, but not all the times you can get a taxi. So you probably have to take the train at least once if you go to Tokyo. So make sure you look up your train, where you're going to, everything beforehand.
To use for that.
I don't know
Just
the name.
Google Maps.
Google Maps.
Google
Yeah.
Maps, yeah.
That's how I've always gotten around. Yeah. So for you agents watching, if you have clients who are, you know, a little bit more adventurous and willing to take a longer flight to get to a place that's just nowhere else in the world, Japan is a trending destination more so than ever. For people who, like I said, are adventurous, it offers everything from city life to hiking. The food and night culture is just unparalleled here. So yeah, if you're watching and you have clients interested in Japan, now's the time to look into it. I promise you it's worth it. And they're going to come back ranting and raving about it. That much I can guarantee you. You guys have any parting words for potential visitors?
What else? Oh, I do want to mention for the nature lovers out there, Japan, Tokyo isn't just, you know, neon glowing lights. Like there's so much to do. In the winter, if you come during the winter, you can be on a world-class ski resort, like on the slopes in under an hour from Tokyo. In the summer, you can get to a beach. Japan is a island, right? Pretty easy to get to a beach. Also, in under an hour, there's like hiking, beautiful mountains all around. So lots to do for nature lovers. But if you're just into the city life, like I am, also just endless options on what's happening, what's going on. So.
Yeah, there really is no bad time to visit any time of year. I mean, right now we're sitting outside and it's winter time. Like, I know you guys are all bundled up, but you know, you haven't been in Cleveland in a while. For us, like, this is pristine weather. Like, I mean, you see how lush and green still, and it's winter time.
50s?
Yeah, it's about 50 or so degrees. But there really is no bad time to visit. And like Kelly said, depending on what part of Japan you're at, once you head up north, you've got places like Hokkaido with amazing world-class skiing. You head down south, you got all the beaches and the cute little islands. But seriously, it offers so much more once you're, you know, if you have a client that's ready for something different. So guys, thanks for talking to me about Lunar New Year. Really enjoyed your tips, especially you, Ava. I feel you really just like to talk about food, and that's okay. So do I. You get that from us. So happy Lunar New Year for everyone watching. Carolyn, thanks for having me host my very first segment. I appreciate that. We'll catch you next week for a brand new episode of KHM Today. Bye.
Hi, happy Lunar New Year.
Annie, can we just say, first of all, that your family's adorable. You're just adorable. And, you know, I don't know that I knew there was a ski resort within an hour's distance. How, in relation to Tokyo, where is Tokyo Disney? Gina, she had visited there when she went. Where
Gina.
visit?
So Tokyo Disney and Disney Sea, it's one of those attractions that because they're Tokyo adjacent, they say they're in Tokyo. That's what they're, but it's actually in Chiba, which is about 45-minute train ride east towards the
Okay.
Tokyo Bay. So if you're staying at Tokyo Disneyland or Disney Sea, you're not actually in Tokyo, but they're still really, really close to each other.
Okay.
And the train is the best way to get around. When I was there was actually a chip shortage. So normally you would buy what's called a Suica card or Pasmo card. It's basically like a Subway reloadable card.
Mhm.
But sources tell me, sources, I mean Ava and Sophie, that the chip shortage is over. So that's great.
There we go.
Yeah. But I was paying cash the whole time. So I never had to worry about transferring like tickets or anything like
Okay.
that. But it's really seamless. And cash is very much still king there, especially you go shopping in a smaller shop or a place which has a lot of souvenirs. So yeah, there's really a little bit for everything for everyone. And like Kelly said, it's not like New York City where you're gonna go there and it's like towering skyscrapers. It really is like a sprawling metropolis, and I think
Yeah.
some areas actually have ordinances where you actually can't build taller, so you have to build out. So I could be wrong, but that's what she told me.
Okay. Now we just have another minute or two, but I want to ask you, Kelly mentioned that yes, you're in Tokyo, but there's all these different areas. So you mentioned before some neighborhoods. Do you have some that you particularly fell in love with?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's so many. There's about 23 different distinct neighborhoods. Out of those, no, I've not been to all of them. Gosh, I would. My favorite is probably Shinjuku, and it's one of the larger ones. You'll hear people say Shinjuku City, but it is Tokyo. It's just one of the neighborhood that the name that it goes by. And within Shinjuku, it was actually where the 2020 Olympics were. So within it, you have a couple different neighborhoods like Nichome, which I spent New Year's Eve with my sister at. That's the LGBTQ friendly neighborhood. It was so much fun. And throughout Japan, you'll find these little alleyways called yokochos, which are basically like street food and like food stalls. And you sit on like a little pit, like a little plastic chair with like a bowl of noodles for like $3. There's a really famous one there called Amoyade. And it's like you really have to look for it, and you see like all the red lanterns. So that's definitely one of my favorite neighborhoods. If you have clients who are really into high-end shopping, like the luxury goods, the name brands, that's pretty much the entire neighborhood of Ginza. And it's super, gosh, I guess like you could think of it's almost like Beverly Hills.
Okay.
But yeah, those are two of my, well, not so much Ginza, but Shinjuku is one of my favorites. And of course, I got to give a shout out to Tsukiji Fish Market because I just love food. And here's a tip, because I actually did not know this. Tsukiji Fish Market is made of the inner market and then the outer market. The outer market is still there, but the inner market got moved towards Tokyo Bay for the Olympics. So if you have a client who says they want to go to Tsukiji Fish Market, they're probably thinking of the outer market. But if they want to go take part in like the world famous, the big tuna auctions, that's the inner market. So it's two different parts now.
I feel like I have a lot to learn or a lot to research after you've shared today. I do. But you know what? That's what I love about this is you might say a few things and then all of a sudden I'm Googling nonstop because I want to learn more about the things that you just shared. So thank you. Because that's probably what I'm going to do tonight in front of the TV is what
Yeah,
is she talking about here?
And I mean, there's just, gosh, we could almost do a whole nother episode on this. But if you, for the agents watching, if you have any questions, like please feel free to shoot me an email. It's ayu@khmtravel.com. A like the first name of my name, Y like yellow, U like I almost said eucalyptus.
Unicorn.
Unicorn, thank you. At khmtravel.com. Like I love talking about it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have to the best of my abilities.
You're the best, Annie. Thank you so much for sharing your family with us, your travels with us. It's always so much fun.
Oh, I always love coming on. It's like SNL. Like, who doesn't want to be invited back?
Right. Ooh, we should start a 5-timers club.
We'll get there.
Write that down.
Maybe
Write
the
that
next
down.
150th episodes.
Yep. Thanks so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Bye.
You guys, thanks so much for joining us today for Lunar New Year and our 150th episode. I can't believe I forgot. Oh, Lord. Thank you to all of our sponsors, especially Apple Leisure Group. They are our show overall sponsor. Next week, join me as we celebrate Valentine's Day with Virgin Voyages. And ever wonder how to stay healthy while you're traveling? Well, we have some tips for you So join me back here next week on KHM Today, 3 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to like and subscribe in order to get notified of the show. You guys have a great week.